Have you ever just felt scattered? Like your mind is racing in one direction, your body is exhausted and going another, and your spirit just feels disconnected from it all? Well, today, we're diving into a really powerful ancient idea that says they're not separate parts at all. They're actually all facets of a single, unified you. Let's get right into it. So let's just start with this one fundamental question. Seriously, think about it for a second. Do you see yourself as just a collection of different pieces? A mind for thinking, a body for doing stuff, a spirit for feeling? Or deep down, do you sense that you are one single integrated being? Your gut answer to that question is really the key to our whole exploration today. There's this quote that just perfectly captures what we're talking about. The universe whispers its deepest truths not in fragmented pieces, but in a symphony of connection. That right there, that idea that everything is designed to work together in harmony, is the foundation for everything we are about to unpack. Okay, so this leads us right into our first major idea. If this deep, interconnected symphony is the reality of who we are, then that everyday feeling we have of being all fragmented, well, that's described as a fundamental illusion. It's a perception that we actually need to see through to get to our true nature. And I just love this metaphor from the source material. This feeling of separation, it isn't some big, solid brick wall. It's described as a thin, shimmering curtain. What that suggests is that it's not impossible to see past. With a little focus, a little awareness, we can actually learn to peer right beyond it. It's really a direct challenge to how we've been taught to see ourselves. So just look at this contrast here. On the left, that's the illusion we all live in most of the time. Mind, body, spirit, each in its own little box, kind of doing its own thing in isolation. But now, look over to the right. That's the reality this teaching is pointing to. It's not separate boxes. It's an interconnected loop where every single part is constantly talking to and influencing the others. It's not a one-way street. It is a constant, dynamic flow of energy and information.
So if that feeling of separation is the illusion, then what's the reality? Well, that brings us to the core concept of what's called our triune nature. This universal principle that's the complete opposite of feeling divided.
Okay, so here's the big idea. Our triune nature basically means that mind, body, and spirit are just different facets of a singular, indivisible being. Think of it like a diamond, right? A diamond has all these different faces, these facets, but it's all one single solid stone. And what affects one facet, say a really stressful thought, is absolutely going to impact the entire diamond, the entire being.
And to make it even more clear, this relationship is described as a dynamic dance of energy and consciousness. It's not static. It's this constant flowing interaction. I mean, think about it. An anxious thought pops into your mind, and what happens next? You feel that very real tension in your shoulders, right? And that tension can, in turn, drain your energy, your spirit. It's all part of the same complex, beautiful dance.
And what's so cool is that this isn't some new idea that someone just came up with. No way. This is a universal truth that you can find echoed across countless cultures and all through history. The real insight here is that true self-mastery demands this holistic approach. Because if you neglect one aspect, say you ignore your physical health, it will always weaken the others. This is actually a core teaching in traditions often called mystery schools, both old and new, which are really just schools of thought that focus on giving people practical tools to bring these three parts back into harmony.
All right, now that we've got that foundation laid, let's zoom in on the first element here, the mind. Because in this teaching, it's given this incredibly powerful role. It's described as the actual architect of your reality.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're asked to think way bigger. The common view is that the mind is just the brain, right? The biological computer inside our heads. But that perspective is presented here as being incredibly small, incredibly limiting. We're about to see a much, much more expansive definition. And here it is. This is that bigger definition. The mind isn't just an organ. It's a vast, multidimensional field of consciousness. It's a powerful engine. Now, this completely reframes it. It's not a passive processor just taking in information. It's an active creator. This changes everything because it means your mind isn't just reacting to your reality, it is literally building it, moment by moment.
And this quote, this is the absolute heart of it. Your thoughts, beliefs, intentions, and perceptions are not passive observers. They are active creators. So every single thought, every belief you hold dear, It's not just some fleeting, harmless reaction to the world outside. According to this teaching, they are creative forces. They are the actual building blocks, the raw materials that your mind, the architect, is using to construct the experience you call your life.
So, if your mind is this incredibly powerful architect, the obvious question is, how do you become a good one, right? How do you get skilled at this? And that brings us to the most crucial part, moving from just knowing the theory to actually putting it into practice with the tools for mental mastery.
The good news is the path to mastering this is laid out as a really clear 3-step process. The first step is simply to observe, to become aware of what's actually going on inside your head. The second is to understand what those thoughts really are, to understand the power they hold. And the final, most important step is to actively train your mind, just like you would a muscle, so that it works for you, not against you. Let's break down what each of these really means.
Okay, let's get into these tools. Conscious awareness. This is square one. It's about learning to take a step back and just watch your thoughts go by, kind of like clouds in the sky, without getting swept up in the storm. Then you move to understanding thought forms. This means you start to realize your thoughts aren't just invisible fluff. They're described as energetic constructs, which is a fancy way of saying they have real substance and real influence. A negative thought you keep having has a real tangible effect on your body and your mood. And finally, mental discipline. This is where you get in the driver's seat. You use practical tools like meditation or focusing your intention to consciously direct that creative power and choose which thoughts you want to build with.
And so it all comes back to this one powerful idea: the mind as the architect. If your thoughts are the blueprints and your attention is the construction crew, then the final question isn't if you're building a reality, you already are. The real question is, what reality will you consciously choose to build?